What's up, guys? We are in a Firebird today. We're gonna start off with a drive. I know we normally don't start off with a drive, but this is a special video. We have to just get in it and drive it first because we can't let it sit. Love the interior.
Everything's kind of right where you need it to be. Like the steering wheel's in your face. The gear shift kind of comes back on an angle, so you don't have to like reach for it.
I love the this brushed aluminum.
At night, this all lights up red, which is really cool. And then I'm thinking about installing some underglow red LEDs by our feet, which would kind of complement it.
Yeah.
At night, it looks like an airplane. But I think that's kind of what they modeled it out there. It really has like this futuristic kind of airplane feel. Like the shaker hood's really cool. Yeah,
that shaker hood's really sick, especially while you're driving.
I will say though, it's not functional. It's totally for looks.
Really?
Yep. You can see that it's actually like a sticker facing us.
Really?
Yeah.
See, it looks like it's shaking a little bit, but
it isn't. No, it is a true. Like it's attached to the motor, but there's actually no ventilation, which is
that's stupid.
Kind of stupid. Yeah. But
like, how expensive would it have been just to make it functional?
Right. Just literally cut holes in it.
Yeah. Now, are the vents on the sides? Do you know if those are functional?
Those are functional.
Okay.
Yeah, that's for engine cooling.
I would lose my mind if those weren't functional.
Yeah. Expelling heat.
Like the Type R vents. No traction control, huh?
0.
You don't even have to go fast to break it loose.
No, it's super slippery actually. And it's actually a pretty heavy car. There's quite a bit of body roll. I'll kind of show you in a turn. Like it just wants to slide out. Like it loves to fishtail.
Yeah.
It's very controlled.
Yeah, so like 3,200 pounds, a little over that.
Everything kind of happens in slow motion in this car.
Yeah. Got AC.
Yep, we do have AC. This is the factory head unit, but in the glove box we did install a sound system. When we get parked, I'll have to pair my phone.
Okay,
it has a nice little, like, you can hook your phone into it. It's nothing crazy, but it's got a little system here.
More bumping than factory.
Exactly. Yeah, because the stock speakers were pretty bad. Yeah, right now all the gauges are working, which is a blast, so we'll jinx it, but sometimes you give them a flick and they come back. And this is a popular model because I believe it was either the 79 or the 80 was the black and gold version of this car, which was used in the Smokey and the Bandit film, right? And that's kind of the popular model. Yeah,
this car was very well marketed, I think.
Yeah, they sold it as like, hey, this is like the last of the muscle cars. Like, we're gonna do a limited batch of them, and if you want the last muscle car, like from GM, here you go. You know, that was kind of the cool thing about it.
And I'm glad it was pretty successful. Like they even brought it back in 2002.
I remember that. Yeah, they turned a Camaro into one.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. And this,
like
I think this is pretty much a Camaro.
This is literally a Camaro.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's kind of always been a little take on the Camaro, but yeah, the marketing for this thing was stellar. Like I'm glad it did well, because if this became one of those cars that was like super cool and just like nobody cared about it, like what's that one car? Like the Duster.
Oh, yeah.
I love that car, but that car,
it's not very well respected among the community. It's
so
basically
cool,
a great drag car you can buy.
Yeah, exactly.
Cheap to buy, and then you can build a lot of power in them.
Yeah, but they designed this car so well. I believe John DeLorean had a big part in this.
Hence all the silver, right? Yeah, the DeLorean.
Yeah, you can see a lot of influence there for sure, but body line's great. The factory wide body kind of fender flares on it.
Yep, the shag carpet, the T-tops, it's so 70s.
Yeah.
It's so 70s.
And then in terms of competing with muscle cars, I think this car does really well, because from my understanding, from my research, the Camaro at the time was very bare bones on the interior, whereas like, you had good engine options and stuff like that, but like on this car you could spec this out pretty nicely. And I believe this is like the pretty much fully loaded, right?
Yeah, this is like the best version. It's got the 4-speed, the Trans Am 400 motor. The automatics came with the Oldsmobile 403, which is still a good motor, but I think it had about 50 horsepower less than this motor, and this thing's already detuned.
Yeah, that's
right now it's maybe making 300 300 horsepower, probably like 270.
Okay.
So it's you know, we talked about it before we got rolling, but this car is right the last of the muscle cars, and the reason being is the U.S. government banned all the big automakers, Ford, GM, you know, Dodge, and said, hey, no more muscle cars, no more gas guzzlers. You have to start thinking more eco-friendly, basically, with your production. So it killed the muscle car, and this was kind of the last hurrah, because, you know, they had the engines already ready to go in Detroit and like in their factories, and they're like, well, we're not just gonna throw away these motors. We gotta put them in something. So they made this kind of cool limited batch to literally just use up the last of the old motors.
Yeah.
That couldn't be used anymore. And then it's funny because like history repeats itself. I remember, you know, when like the Prius came out, and like everyone, like mid 2000s, everyone was like thinking so eco-friendly, and like global warming was a threat, and still is, I guess. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's exactly what was going on with the US government in the 70s and 80s. Yeah.
And I think at least now, like, I don't know if this is just because of the crowd that I'm in of people, but I think people are more appreciative of older cars now, you know, big engines, gas, you know, gas guzzler or not, because a lot of people are going to electric vehicles, and that's a pretty divisive topic right now.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the value of these cars will ever diminish, because guys like you and me and our generation, you know, we grew up with Hot Wheels and Fast and Furious and all the cool video games.
I think people like us would be more inclined to pay more for a car like this.
I think our generation will always respect this era of cars, strictly just because of the looks, the memories, you know. I just remember playing video games as a kid and always wanting the cool old school cars, and
Need for Speed on the GameCube.
Exactly. Bro. Yeah, Fast and Furious, you know, like Vin Diesel ripping a big Charger, the blower out of the hood, like that's just cool. That's badass.
That's one thing. I think Fast and Furious had a big influence on me, because I started liking Mopars, I think, because of Fast and Furious. And you always had, even in Tokyo Drift, where it was all the tuner cars and, like, you know, kind of the smaller turbo engines, at the very end of Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, you had Vin Diesel with his big ass Charger and just ripping it with the the Japanese cars, which was cool.
So funny.
It's like, when you have a type, you have a type. How long have you guys had this car?
Okay, so funny story about how we acquired this one. We went to a local auction here in North Palm Beach for John Staluppi's car collection that he liquidated, which was the Cars of Dreams Museum. It was an old Publix shopping center that he bought up and then turned into a mega garage for his giant collection. And he filled it up, got basically annoyed with the fact that he didn't have any more space, so he kept a few, you know, the special cars for himself, and then had Mecum auctions come in, and or RM auctions basically come in and liquidate his whole collection. So we were there knowing that he was going to do that, selling a couple like 66 Mustang convertibles, because at the time my mom was looking for kind of a cool little cruiser to drive around. She was getting jealous of, you know, the cars my dad kept buying. She was like, I kind of want a little cruiser.
I want a little something too.
So we were there looking at a 66 Mustang. It was blue with a white interior. The tan top was beautiful. I had the pony package, like two-tone interior. It was beautiful. So that ended up getting jumped up in price to like an astronomical amount. It shouldn't have gone for that amount. And we kind of had our tail between our legs, a little deflated, like, man, like that, you know, that kind of sucked. So we're, you know, kind of moseying around. We're like looking around in the back of the shop, and there's 4 Trans Ams. There's this one, a brown on brown, I think it was like a white with black stripes, and then the black and gold famous Smoky Cabana Trans Am. And we were like looking at this one like, wow, we've never seen an all silver on silver Trans Am before. And we started looking it up, and turned out it had some value, and it was pretty rare, and it was kind of just thrown in the back of the shop. And we were like looking at the card on you know, all the things that were going to be displayed on auction, and it wasn't listed. And we were like, that's weird. So we stuck around till the end, and this thing ended up coming up on the block like last. And we were looking around, and the herd had thinned out, and this thing went up on the block, and we were against a phone bidder. So there was a guy on the phone who bid it up to like 32,000, and then just kind of paused there. My dad and I were looking around like, dude, 32,000 for a Trans Am, like that, how do you say no? Like, it's got an eagle on the hood. Like,
it's got a chicken, bro.
So we were kind of fired up, and like the value was around, like at that time, I think this was back in like 2015, 2016.
Okay.
the value around that time was around like 34 to 40,000, somewhere around there, depending on mileage and condition. So this thing actually appreciated quite a bit, because recently at Barrett Jackson, one sold with about 4 miles on the odometer, which is crazy. But that 4-mile Trans Am set the bar high for, you know, same thing, silver anniversary with the manual gear shift like us, 187,000.
Of course, yeah.
So obviously this isn't there. We're at 33,000 miles, which is still
not bad at all. I mean, this car is
but
very
that's
old.
the thing, we drive our cars, man. We like to get them out, and we think it's a shame that, you know, cars sit like that. Like having only 4 miles on a Trans Am hurts to think about. Cool that it sold for that much.
Even still, I mean,
you never enjoyed it.
My 2017 car has like 80,000 miles on it, so like 30,000 for what? This car's what, like
79,
50, 60 years old? Yeah, that's nothing.
Yep,
that's nothing at all.
When I was learning how to drive stick, I thought this was the easiest one to learn on, just because.
Wow, you learned on this car?
Well, not really. I was still coming up. I actually learned on a Chevy 2500 pickup truck, so I could grind it up and not feel too bad. But I was still kind of new to stick shift. You know, this car to me just felt
interesting, very
easy to. It's a 4-speed, very simple shift. You know, and everything's very.
It's not complicated.
It's a very simple car. I was gonna say. It's very simple.
In all her glory.
Yep, that's where the magic happens.
So that's the fake shaker hood right there.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it does shake. Like, it is attached to the motor, but it provides no extra airflow to the
real shaker, but not real shaker.
Yeah.
Big motor.
It really is.
A lot of room in here, but still massive motor.
Right, and we're talking about how they detuned them. Basically what they did is they restricted fuel and they restricted airflow. So if you put a bigger carburetor and like a straight piped exhaust, you instantly add about 20 horsepower, 15 to 20 horsepower.
Yeah. They had a rule, it was like a 10 horsepower per 1,000 pounds. Or something like that. Yeah, 10 horsepower per 1,000 pounds. This was just over, whenever everything was said and done, over that rule. I think they wanted to make sure that the Corvette would still get all the love that it deserved. So what they did was they just they detuned the engine. It ended up with about 90% of the power that it should have. But you know, of course, pretty early on after this release, they figured out a way to just pretty easily tinker with it and get it back up to its, you know, rightful place.
Yeah, where it should be. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like kind of crazy how much it could potentially offer, but just due to not hurting the value of the car, we keep it stock and just kind of the way she came from the factory. Yeah, people stack power on these for sure. It's a great base. It's a 6.6 liter engine, so it's basically, if you take the chokehold off it, I mean, this thing really wants to go. It'd be a pleasure to drive, really. But yeah, it's definitely a motor you could put some horsepower on top. Power windows, which is cool.
I love the profile on the back where it just dips down all the way and then it's abrupted by this spoiler here.
So, yep, excuse the mess, but
not too bad on the room.
Honestly, yeah. Got a spare tire in there, a jack. This is all factory stuff here that came with the car.
Oh yes, and then the fuel door.
Yeah, the fuel door's funny.
It's just, yeah, I like how you can just see the hose like in the back. It's sticking out
chilling.
Unleaded fuel only, so you gotta remember that. Don't put diesel in there.
All original stickers here, how to jack the car up.
That's funny that they put that. I don't think they do that really anymore.
No.
How to jack your car.
People are too lazy.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of people know how to jack up the car anymore. You think it's about like 2,000 of these were made?
I would say about 1,800 and 1,900 came with the 4-speed engine combo like this one. Maybe about 30 to 35,000 total in production for the silver anniversary. The rest were all automatic with an Oldsmobile engine. So this was the one.
And that Oldsmobile engine, I think, made about 180 horsepower.
Weak,
so
super weak.
That is redonkulous.
Yeah, I think
Honda Civic base model today would destroy that car.
Which is crazy, yeah. And strictly just because it's
half the amount of cylinders.
It's so detuned, you know, because like there's Oldsmobiles 2-3 years earlier, like a 76, 77, which would blow your doors off. You know, they're allowed to.
Yeah.
What's
going on with that, man? I love how the bird sits up there.
Yeah, the bird's super.
That's just, I love that. Not a lot of people like that. I was watching a Jay Leno video. He said he doesn't care for the chicken on top, and I'm like, bro, that's one of the reasons why I get this car, because I don't know.
It just makes it cool in my opinion.
It's part
like,
of the design. And look, the pinstripes. I just noticed that.
Wing of the bird,
yeah, the wings go into pinstripes right here.
Side mirrors. Yeah.
And it literally goes all the way around. Wow, that's pretty neat. What are you talking about, Jay Leno? So what would your advice be to, like, if somebody was looking for one of these cars, in terms of trim levels and what options they have? Do you think it's well worth it to go all the way up here, or do you think there's maybe a better sweet spot? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so the value of, like, I would value this car somewhere around probably the low 40s, low to mid 40s, and I don't know, at that price point you can look at something that definitely packs more horsepower if that's what you're looking for. But for a collector standpoint, this is cool because it will appreciate in value. Of those 1,800, you know, that were produced, you know, there's probably some that were totaled, some that rusted out, some that are in worse condition. So yeah, you know, it's tough to put a value on it because we just don't know how many are left. But that's kind of what keeps it cool from a collector standpoint. It's not a car that's going to win every drag race. It's not that type of vehicle at all. It's kind of something you leave stock and just let it.
This is something that you drive around and everybody looks at it. Everybody's like, oh man, my cool uncle had this car whenever he wasn't in jail, you know, like it's like that. I don't know if I've ever said this to you guys, but if you know me in person, a Firebird is one of my favorite cars of all time. Certainly my favorite classic muscle car. And I will have one day, mark my words. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. If you like watching car videos like I do, if that's just what you do on YouTube, what are you doing if you're not subscribed, right?
Exactly.
What are they doing?
Wasting time.
Exactly. You're wasting time. And I think about 90% of my viewers on YouTube aren't subscribed to my channel. So if you're stopping by to watch a video, you might as well just hit that button, you know, hit the like button. And I appreciate you guys being with me today. And say goodbye, Jake.
Yep, see you guys soon. Yep, we'll hopefully be in a different car, and
yeah, we'll be back.
Some exciting stuff for sure.
All right, guys, well, have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.